Finding Her Edge. Chapter 4. I hear them before I see them. Well, actually, I hear her. "Adriana!" Riley Monroe shrieks from outside before bursting through the front door, dropping her luggage behind her and sprinting across the room to me as I descend the final step. "Adriana! We're going to Worlds together!" There's no time to answer her as she launches herself the last few feet that separate us and jumps up, forcing me to drop the blanket I was carrying down the stairs to catch her. Riley is only a year younger than me, but she's so small it feels like way more. She's barely 5 feet tall, and I feel like an Amazon as she squeezes me tight in a hug. Over her shoulder, her dad, Charles, is lifting her bags from the pile she dropped them in when she came through the door. She's a miniature version of Charlie, sparkling brown eyes and dark skin, her hair in tightly woven braids pulled back into a thick ponytail. Riley and I grew up together here at Kellynch. She moved with her mom down to Atlanta 2 years ago so she could partner with Freddy. It's been hard to stay close, but it helps that Riley's one of those friends you might not talk to for a year, but you pick up right where you left off the next time you see each other. If she's ever noticed that her partner barely acknowledges my existence, she's never said anything. "Can you believe it? We're going to Worlds together," she repeats, and I laugh. Just like we talked about when we were little, or at least when I was little. When are you going to grow? She smiles and shakes her head. "Doctor says I'm all done." Ugh, lucky. "Are you kidding?" she says, grabbing my hands and holding them out. "Look at you. Well, okay, maybe like the Victoria's Secret fashion show, because of the..." She motions at my chest, which, much like my height, is larger than pretty much any other figure skater I know. "Enough," I laugh, dropping her down and pulling away. "Come on, grab your bags. I put you in the main house with me and Maria. You can have Elisa's room." "Actually, I was thinking I could stay here," she says before biting her lip. "Here?" I ask. "Why? The house is way more comfortable and closer to the rink, and the heat works better." "I don't think it's about any of that," Charles jokes from behind her, and I blink in confusion. He's a little taller than me, and his hair is long gone, shaved off, the top of his head buffed to a shine. "Dad," she says to his back, but then her frown gives way to a bright smile. "It's not like that. I think since we're partners, Freddy and I should stay in the same place." "That makes sense," I manage to say, holding back the tsunami of panic that immediately rages through me. They're partners, of course. They should stay together. But that's not what it sounded like. It sounded like that was an excuse. It sounded like Riley wants to be as close to Freddy as possible. It sounded like she likes him. Likes him. Who even am I right now? Who talks like that? Likes him. But why wouldn't she like him, and why wouldn't he like her? She's adorable and sweet, and they'd probably make a great couple. They've trained together 6 days a week for the last 2 years. This shouldn't be shocking. In fact, I should have guessed it way before now. They look great on the ice. Why wouldn't that become more off it? "Nothing's happened," Riley's saying, but I only catch the end of it. "But I don't know. Is it stupid to go there? What do you think?" "I think we shouldn't talk about this right now when everyone else is probably going to be here any second." "Yeah, Dad knew the fastest way from Logan, but they had to wait for cabs," she says, gesturing back behind her. Car doors slamming and voices chattering over each other start to draw closer behind the door. "We'll talk later, okay?" I assure her, and she nods as her dad comes back inside with a woman behind her bundled up tight to fight against the Boston winter. "How do you stand it?" Georgia O'Connell Croft says, unwinding her scarf from around her face, her eyes, the same ones she shares with her brother, twinkling at me. Her hair is a bright red, not the chestnut brown that Freddy has, but the resemblance is almost uncanny, right down to the light green eyes. I send her a small smile, a little unsure of myself. I've never actually spoken to Georgia before. There was never any reason to. She always lived and trained down in Atlanta, even when Freddy and I skated together. She retired from ice dancing the same year Freddy and I stopped skating, and when he moved down there, she and her husband, Harry, started coaching. They must be pretty good at it. Freddy and Riley's improvement in the last year has been amazing. The next 4 years should be interesting. We all have the Olympics in our sights, and there's only one gold medal. The cold builds character, I say softly, and she laughs out loud. That must be it, she says, and comes forward with her hand extended. I'm Georgia, and you're Adriana Russo. It's nice to actually meet you after hearing so much about you for so many years. My smile falters, half terrified. Whatever she heard from Riley was probably fine, but I can't imagine Freddy spent any time singing my praises to his big sister after what I did. It's nice to meet you too, I say. Don't take off all your gear, though. I set you and your husband up in the main house. I figured you'd be more comfortable sharing a room with one big bed instead of 2 smaller ones. Well, lead the way, Georgia says. Following me out the front door, in the distance, her husband is lining up bags on the sidewalk, talking to a few other skaters and coaches. I think I see the top of Freddy's head sticking out of the crowd. Yeah, that's him, bouncing up and down on his toes against the cold. Then he wheels around and in one motion scoops up a handful of slush, turning and firing it behind him. I can't see the intended targets, but it's probably one of his friends. And sure enough, a second later, a snowball pelts him in the shoulder as he tries to spin out of it. He throws his head back with an infectious laugh that echoes up into the winter air. He's always like that, unable to sit still, vibrating against his skin to do something, usually something outrageous and fun and completely unexpected. I might have played it cool with Camille, but I can't handle this right now if I'm suspicious about him and Riley. So I duck my head and lead Georgia away without looking back. God, I'm such a coward. I can't tell you how excited we were when we found out that training camp was going to be at Kellynch. When I was growing up, I dreamed of training here, Georgia says as we reach the house, but as we climb the steps of the porch, she turns and faces the rink next door. I came to a summer camp once when I was very little. It was the highlight of my career up until I went to nationals for the first time. I lead her into the house and then straight back toward the largest guest bedroom. You guys will be in here. Bathroom is attached. Wow, she says, coming in behind me. That's a lot of mirrors. I glance over to the far wall of the room, which is entirely covered in mirrors, and another freestanding mirror reflects them back. We don't have a lot of guests at the main house, so Dad usually uses it as a dressing room. Yeah, my dad likes to make sure he looks just right before he goes out in the world. Georgia laughs and then shrugs. I guess I'll make sure not to look up when I drag myself out of bed in the morning. Adriana, Maria's voice carries from somewhere in the house. We're in here, I call, sticking my head out into the hallway. What are you doing back so soon? Charlie got a text from his sister that they got here, and his dad said we had to come back. We're going to have a team party at the Kellynch house tonight. Oh, hi, she says to Georgia, recognizing her immediately. I don't mean like a real party, just hanging out. You must be Maria, she says, and extends her hand, which Maria shakes quickly. Anyway, my sister says, refocusing on me, I really want to go, but I got a text from Julian Tarassi's mom confirming for later, and I totally forgot to cancel his last lesson. And you know what a total bitch she is. Don't say it. I know you told me to cancel all my lessons. I'm not as responsible as you, but I really want to hang out with everyone, especially Charlie, and you're really good with parents like that. Go, I say, cutting her off. I'll take the lesson. Ah, she shrieks and then gives me a fierce hug before pulling away and bounding up and down on her toes. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'll totally make it up to you, I promise. Go before I change my mind, I warn, and she's off like a shot, totally unaware there's 0 chance I'll be changing my mind. This is the perfect excuse. I can go give this lesson and then come back to the house, and for at least one more night I can avoid Freddy. I turn back to Georgia, who was eyeing me curiously. I'll leave you to get settled in. Yes, a nap is calling my name, she says, pressing her palms against the mattress, and when the memory foam conforms around them, she moans. I think I'm going to like it here. By the time I grab the keys to the rink and my skates, Mrs. Tarassi and her son Julian, a 9-year-old who would much rather be playing hockey than figure skating, are already waiting for me out in the cold. I'm so sorry for the oversight, I say, as she glares at me while Julian chucks icy snowballs at the building. All the lessons this week and going forward were supposed to be canceled, but obviously I'd be more than happy to give Julian his lesson now, no charge. Mrs. Terrassi sniffs her agreement, possibly because her mouth has frozen shut standing out in this weather, and when we walk inside, I motion to the coffee machine in the far corner. There's change at the front desk. Please have a hot drink on us. Julian, this way. The lesson is a total nightmare. The kid doesn't want to be here, but his mom refuses to let him play hockey, which I totally get. He's undersized for his age, and hockey in Boston is no joke. Kids around here leave the maternity ward with little hockey sticks and skate before they can walk. Once they start to grow, there's no stopping them on the ice. There are technically rules against checking in the lower levels, but it's still rough, and even if Mrs. Terrassi is kind of a jerk, she understandably doesn't want to see her little boy get decapitated by some pee-wee hockey goon. We run through some standard skating drills, working on long, smooth strokes across the ice, but Julian is super bored, and we're only halfway through when he's complaining about wanting to jump. Maria said I'd be able to do a waltz jump this week. Oh, did she? I ask in total disbelief. This kid is nowhere near ready for a waltz jump. He's not terrible, but sometimes he still randomly loses his balance just skating. I don't think that's such a good idea, Julian. But it's too late. He's streaking across the ice backward before swinging his leg out to leap into the air, but instead his toe pick gets caught underneath him, and down he goes, face first into the ice. The rink is silent, and then his mom, who looked up from her phone at exactly the wrong moment, screams in terror. I skate up to him frantically before falling to my knees beside him. There's blood coming out of his nose and leaking onto the ice in tiny rivulets. His mom's screams finally seem to register for him, and that's what makes him start to cry. His hands come up and clutch his face, probably making it worse, and I try to pry them away. The blood running from his nose starts to leak into his mouth, and he coughs against it, splattering the ice, which sets his mom off again, but I can't worry about her right now. Julian, I say softly, my hands over his. Julian, you have to let me see, okay? I promise I won't touch it, but I need to see how bad it is, okay? I need you to be brave. His eyes are filled with tears, and they're streaking down his cheeks, mixing with the blood that's already slowing. His hands come down, and I hold his face gently in my hands, turning his head back and forth. The blood has completely stopped now. You look okay, I say. How does it feel? He sniffs and then reaches up to touch it. All right, I think. His fingers press against his nose, and he doesn't even flinch. I think I just got scared. Okay, we're going to get you up, I say, and take his hands. On 3. 1, 2, 3. I lift him, and he's back up on his skates, holding my hands tightly as he finds his balance. Together, hand in hand, we make our way to the edge of the rink. Julian! His mom shouts, her voice echoing up into the rafters of the empty rink. I can't hear whatever bullshit Mrs. Terrassi is spewing at me, and I'm about to scream in this woman's face when the doors of the rink open and Freddy O'Connell strides through them. The air leaves my lungs, and I can't seem to pull in another breath. Mrs. Terrassi is still yelling, but my focus is drawn to Freddy and Ben Wu, who walks in behind him. They're both in skates and each has a hockey stick in their hand. They grew up playing hockey before swapping over to figure skating. Freddy took a lot of heat from the kids we skated with when we were little, when he made the choice. He's even sort of built for hockey, broad shoulders and really strong legs. I asked him once if he regretted giving it up, but he just scoffed at me, green eyes sparkling like the answer was obvious. My heart had stuttered in my chest when his eyes met mine. That was the first time I wondered what it would be like to kiss a boy. Then, for a moment, as Ben turns to say something to him, my eyes meet Freddy for real this time. Oh, God. It's worse than I thought. His eyes are the same, a soft green, but there's no sparkle. Not for me. Not anymore. I've seen him in the 2 years since we stopped skating together, obviously. We stood on the same metal podium at nationals, went to the same events. But there's something about this moment back at Kellynch that's too much. And immediately, I know what it is. were only feet from where we were standing when I told him we couldn't skate together anymore, that I needed to find a new partner, and so did he. In fact, Julian is sitting in the exact spot Freddy was on the bleachers, while he stared back at me as I cried and tried to get the words out, tried to explain. The feeling is wildly familiar to the blood rushing in my ears and the knot in my chest, climbing up into my throat, my eyes burning with the effort to just not cry. And now, of course, when I need it to most, my head won't let go of that memory. Not fully. It's Mrs. Tarassi's rant that finally pushes it to the back of my mind, tearing my gaze away from Freddy, trying to make all of this end. Please, Mrs. Tarassi, I'm so sorry. I have some wipes and gauze for Julian. It looks like he's okay, but... And how would you know if he's okay? Forget it. We're never coming back here after this disaster anyway. As I said earlier, Kellynch is closed to lessons for the next month, and we've rescheduled all our usual students with other rinks. But please, don't let this incident affect your future plans, I say. But she cuts me off with another tirade until, "Mom!" Julian yells from behind me, which should be impossible because the rink is behind me. "Mom, look!" "Julian?" Mrs. Tarassi asks, blinking over my shoulder, and I turn to take in whatever she's seeing. "He shoots!" he yells with sheer joy, the laughter clear as a bell. Ben skating alongside Julian as he pushes a hockey puck forward with Ben's stick, Freddy gliding backward in front of him as they approach two cones set out on the goal line. He scores! And he's laughing and smiling, tears long gone, with a bunch of tissues stuffed into his nostrils. "Well," Mrs. Tarassi says, "it looks like he's okay. Yes, it seems that way. You should probably get him checked out anyway. Just in case." She hums in approval, and her rage seems to have faded. "Julian, let's go. I want to stop at urgent care on the way home and make sure you haven't broken your nose." Freddy and Ben turn and bring him toward the door before swinging him between them and letting him land lightly through the gate and onto the floor outside the rink. Then Freddy corrals the puck Julian was using and takes off down the ice immediately, without even glancing in my direction, and Ben shoots me an apologetic grin before following his friend. I follow Mrs. Tarassi and Julian off the ice, locking up behind us and walking them to their car, carrying Julian's skate bag for them. Finally, they're gone, and I sigh in relief. For a moment, I turn back to the rink and think about going inside to thank Freddy and Ben for their help, but there's no way I can face Freddy. I'll have to eventually, and getting it over with is probably the smart thing to do, the brave thing, but today, I can't. After 2 years of near total silence, and the first time he really saw me was in the middle of that, it's too much. Instead, I'll grab some food and barricade myself in my room for the rest of the day. I've had enough.